What if the moon suddenly split into two pieces? The sky we know would never look the same again. The night, once calm and familiar, would turn into something strange and unpredictable. At first, people would stare in shock as the single glowing moon breaks apart, drifting into two separate celestial bodies. The tides on Earth would begin to behave wildly, rising higher in some places and dropping in others, disturbing oceans, coastlines, and marine life. Even weather patterns could shift, as the moon's gravitational pull plays a silent but powerful role in Earth's balance. Night would no longer be truly dark. Two moons would cast overlapping shadows, creating eerie double light across the planet. Nights might become brighter, but also more confusing, two moving sources of light changing the rhythm of life on Earth. Scientists would rush to understand what caused it, a cosmic collision, internal rupture, or something beyond current physics. Philosophers would see it as a sign, a reminder of how fragile cosmic order truly is. But beyond fear and wonder, humanity would adapt, just as it always has. New calendars, new science, and new stories would emerge. Because even if the moon split in two, life on Earth would continue, forever changed, but still moving forward. If the moon split into two, the night sky would change dramatically and become visually strange and unfamiliar. If the moon suddenly split into two separate pieces, the very first thing humanity would notice is the shocking change in the night sky. What was once a single, steady, glowing presence would now become two drifting celestial bodies, slowly moving apart. This moment would create global panic and awe at the same time, as people across the world look up and try to understand what they are seeing. The familiar rhythm of the night would feel broken, almost unreal. Instead of calm darkness guided by one moon, the sky would now feel unstable and unpredictable. The brightness of the night could increase in unusual ways as both fragments reflect sunlight differently, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow. Some nights might appear brighter than ever before, while others could feel strangely distorted. Animals that depend on lunar cycles would become confused, altering their natural behavior. Human emotions would also be affected, as the moon has always held deep cultural and psychological meaning. Fear, curiosity, and wonder would spread together, making it one of the most unforgettable events in history. Scientists would immediately begin observing the movement of both moons, trying to calculate their paths and predict what comes next. But in those first moments, confusion and amazement would dominate the world. Earth's tides would become unstable, causing major disruptions to oceans, coastlines, and marine ecosystems. After the moon splits into two, the effects on Earth's oceans would become one of the most serious and immediate consequences. The moon's gravitational pull is what controls tides, so dividing it into two bodies would completely disturb that natural balance. Instead of predictable high and low tides, the oceans would begin behaving in extreme and irregular ways. In some regions, water levels could rise much higher than normal, causing coastal flooding and threatening cities near shorelines. In other areas, tides might weaken unexpectedly, affecting fishing, marine navigation, and underwater ecosystems that depend on stable water movement. Ocean currents could also shift, leading to changes in temperature distribution across seas and potentially disturbing global climate patterns over time. Marine life, especially species that rely on lunar cycles for breeding or migration, would become disoriented and struggle to survive in the new condition. Human communities living near the coast would face urgent challenges as they try to protect infrastructure and adapt to unpredictable water behavior. Scientists would closely monitor tidal data, attempting to understand how the gravitational forces of two moons interact with Earth. Despite advanced technology, the complexity of the situation would make prediction difficult, turning the world's oceans into one of the most unstable and dangerous environments on the planet. The presence of two moons would create unusual lighting effects, with overlapping shadows and brighter but confusing nights. With two moons in the sky, the night would no longer be dark in the way humanity has always known. Instead, Earth would be bathed in a constantly shifting glow, as both moons reflect sunlight from different angles and positions. This would create unusual lighting patterns, where shadows no longer fall in a single direction. Objects on the ground could cast double shadows, sometimes overlapping, sometimes stretching in opposite ways, making the world appear almost surreal. Nights that were once quiet and stable would feel visually confusing, as brightness levels change depending on where each moon is in its orbit. In some places, the sky might look brighter than twilight, while in others it could still remain dim, depending on how the two lunar bodies align. This strange illumination would affect human perception, making distances and depth harder to judge, especially in open areas. Artists and photographers would find new inspiration in these unique skies, while scientists would study how dual lunar reflection influences nocturnal environments. Even wildlife behavior could shift, as animals that depend on darkness for hunting or protection might struggle to adjust. Over time, humans would begin to recognize patterns in this double moon lighting. But the first experience of it would feel like living under an entirely transformed sky, where night itself has lost its old identity. Scientists would urgently investigate the cause, while philosophers might interpret it as a symbolic or cosmic event. As the reality of a split moon settles in, scientists around the world would rush into action, trying to understand how such an impossible event could occur. Space agencies would activate their most powerful telescopes and satellites, tracking the movement of both lunar bodies with extreme urgency. Early theories would compete with one another, some suggesting a massive cosmic collision, others proposing internal structural failure, and a few even questioning whether unknown forces or phenomena are at work beyond current scientific understanding. Data would be collected non-stop, but the unpredictable behavior of the two moons would make accurate predictions extremely difficult. Each new observation could contradict the last, leaving researchers both fascinated and frustrated. At the same time, philosophers, writers, and thinkers would try to interpret the event beyond science, seeing it as a symbol of imbalance in nature or a reminder of how small humanity is in the vast universe. Public fear and curiosity would grow together, as people look for meaning in the skies above them. Governments might form emergency scientific coalitions, sharing information across borders to respond to the global impact. Despite all efforts, the mystery of the split moon would remain unsolved at first, becoming one of the greatest cosmic puzzles humanity has ever faced. Despite the chaos, humanity would eventually adapt by developing new systems, knowledge, and ways of living, even after the initial shock and chaos of the moon splitting in two. Humanity would slowly begin to adapt to the new reality. Over time, what once seemed impossible would start becoming part of everyday life. People would learn the new patterns of the sky, adjusting calendars, farming cycles, and navigation systems according to the movement of two moons instead of one. Scientists would gradually develop better models to predict tides, weather changes, and gravitational effects, helping society